Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, this is group 3, and this is our presentation for the ethical case studies in two different countries. So, this is us, the AMS team. So, starting off with Ahmed Osama, then Mahmoud Elkhady, then me, Saifuddeen, Wael. So, in this presentation, the outline is we'll go study the case study 1, which is the public scandal of BART, then case study 2, which is the blockage of the Egyptian Suez Canal. And in each case study, we'll go into the introduction and what is the case, then the problem statement, the ethical issues, consequences, and finally go with the alternatives. So the first case study, the public scandal of the BART case. BART is the Bay Area Rapid Transit, and specifically, it's a Californian transit system. It's a system that had its genesis in late 1947. As envisioned, BART was to be a high-tech rail system serving many of the outlying communities along the San Francisco Bay. BART serves 50 stations along 6 routes on 113 miles, which for us is 211 kilometers of rapid transit lines, and the automatic train control system was an innovative method for controlling train speed and access to stations. However, there was no fail-safe system. So the project process and management was first there was a phase 1, which is design and construction. Then it was the operation, all about operation responsibilities and conditions managed. So what actually happened? So there was an engineer called George Sprang, I guess, concerned about the lack of testing of some of the components of the ATC. And also another engineer called Robert Bruder noticed some problems with the test procedures and the testing schedule. However, he was unable to get his concerns addressed by the managers. So both engineers became concerned about the documentation that Westinghouse was providing, and they were unable to get satisfaction. So they dropped the matter. Another engineer was Max Blankenzy. He was also concerned about the testing and documentation of the ATC. So he wrote an unsigned memo to several levels of BART management that summarized the problems he perceived. And the 3 engineers contacted members of the BART board of directors indicating their concerns. They also consulted with an outside engineering consultant, Edward Burfin, who evaluated the ATC on his own and came to conclusions similar to those of the 3 engineers. Of the board of directors released them to a local newspaper. So he released these concerns to a local newspaper, and the BART management was upset by this action and tried to locate the source of this information. Now, my friend Ahmed Osama will go into the problem statement, and thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ahmed Osama Gaber, and I will take you through the second part of our presentation. So the problem, we can include it in 2 lines. Engineers should have their rights fulfilled to do their responsibility in the best way and avoid the mistakes. So here is some of the critical issues from the BART case. First of all, the safety of the public. Public was at stake from public transport. Second, lying to superior, telling the top board and supervisors that they are not related to the problem. Whistleblowing means passing in information concerning wrongdoing. Dropping the matter of concern, ignoring serious issues without informing managers. After this, conflict of interest. Interest of consultant was not the same as the organization. Ethical issues, we can continue. Not respecting confidentiality of the organization. Organization have privacy rights, but sharing wrongdoings with the public is unethical. Fear of losing the job, making mistakes and unethical decisions to save one's job position. Consequences, the 3 engineers got dismissed. They stayed unemployed for several months without no payment. They faced a case in court. The engineers sued BART, but each received only $25,000 IEEE intervened, attempt for the first time to assist in a legal proceeding. Safety BART continued to have malfunctions and incidents after this case. Alternative methods for these critical ethical issues. First, clarify the order of command. All the workers should have their should know their managers and supervisors, so they can communicate in a clear way. Second of all, don't drop the concerns and continue raising until you get satisfied. Third, raise the matter of concern from day one and do not delay it or ignore it until you get satisfied. Fourth, do not fear losing the job on the account of serious issues and public safety. 5. For whistleblowing, find the best time and way that suit both organization and your interests. And we finished the BART case, and for the second case is the blockage of the Egyptian Suez Canal. So we can start with seeing this video.
This is not the view you want when navigating the Suez Canal. A giant container ship wedged from bank to bank, blocking one of the world's most important shipping lanes. The 400-metre-long Ever Given got stuck on Tuesday morning, running aground in high winds, reportedly after a power failure on board. A fleet of tugboats has been trying to refloat the megaship ever since, while a digger, tiny by comparison, tries to extricate her bow from the eastern bank.
They would be trying to remove anything that is easy to remove. But the location where they're stuck is actually, it's not near a port. It is actually quite a distance away from anything. And this is where the clear option is lots and lots of tugboats and digging around the side.
12% of global trade passes through the canal in Egypt between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, goods passing between Europe and Asia without having to round Africa. The Ever Given's mishap temporarily closed a route that's used by 50 large ships every day. With the canal blocked, scores of vessels were left waiting in maritime traffic jams at either end. This was the picture at 1600 hours GMT on Wednesday. As tankers queued, oil prices rose. The blockage another blow to global trade, disrupted by COVID.
Millions of tons of oil, millions of tons of manufactured goods, millions of containers, hundreds of thousands of containers are going through the canal in any given week. And so a prolonged closure would mean that there would be ships stacking up both in the Mediterranean and in the Red Sea, and essentially at anchor, riding at anchor, waiting for the canal to open.
The canal was twice closed by war in the 20th century. The Suez Crisis in 1956 and the 1967 Arab-Israeli war blockades hastened the development of ever larger ships. Experienced navigators say even in peacetime, it is a challenging route.
It's exhausting. It's a very long, it's a 16 to 19 hour transit with a lot of preparations either end. Once you're in the canal, it's relatively straightforward. It's a bit like going through a tunnel, perhaps, but the entrance and the exit are the problems.
It remains unclear if and when the Ever Given will be refloated and able to move. Every delay, a reminder that turning round a supertanker really is a slow job. Paul Kelso, Sky News.
And the video finished. The Suez Canal is an artificial sea level waterway connecting the Mediterranean Sea and to the Red Sea and dividing Africa and Asia. The canal is part of the Silk Road that connects Europe with Asia. The idea was in existence since the second millennium, but the work and construction of Suez Canal started at 21st April 1859. What happened in this day, due to the sandstorm, the day the Ever Given cargo ship was battered by heavy winds, So some experts theorize that the large number of containers may have acted as hail and pushed it off course. Authorities also haven't ruled out the possibility of a technical error or a human error. The Ever Given is one of the largest ships in operation, larger than the Eiffel Tower, with exactly the maximum length allowed in the canal. That's all for me, and now with Mahmoud Elkhady.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Mahmoud Elkhady. So, how did the ship get stuck? Due to the thunderstorm in that day, the Ever Given ship was battered by a heavy wind. So some experts theorize that the large number of containers may have acted as a sail and pushed it off course. Authorities also haven't ruled out the possibility of a technical error or a human error. The Ever Given is one of the largest ships in operation, larger than the Eiffel Tower, was exactly the maximum length allowed in the canal. A thorough risk analysis and mitigation in complex network is of utmost importance to avoid such huge mishaps. Ethics issues from the Suez Canal blockage history. Industry unprepared is responsible to other alternatives to such prices. Extreme limits should be more suitable for physical capabilities. Weather forecasting is a virtue when entire operation depends on it. Underestimating the importance of this canal resulted in less risk analysis, prone to human error, is a massive risk that must be reduced. Global trade impact resulted lasted for months after the accident. Oil prices shot up and down, and it's estimated that each day the canal was closed, some $9 billion worth of goods were affected. The solution was not a simple task. Teams were brought in from around the world, and dredgers removed literal tons of sand and silt from around the ship's hull for days. Other alternative was even costlier, as ships that opted to go around Africa and the Cape of Good Hope faced lengthy daily, adding as many as 15 days to their journey. Future considerations: new practices in canal after investigations into the reasons and all factors, natural and human, reducing risk of choke point, readily available backup plans and practices for when such a crisis occurs. Understand the importance of canal in order to give it the required attention, budget, and undergo a full risk analysis for all factors. Shipping workers plight. Workers in these industries get stranded for days on vessels with restrictions and must have special considerations and solutions. Violated codes of ethics and laws. To hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public, to strive to comply with ethical design and sustainable development practices, to protect the privacy of others, and to disclose publicly factors that might endanger the public of the environment, and to avoid real or perceived conflicts of interests whenever possible, and to disclose them to affected parties when they do exist. Every corporate member shall at all times so order his conduct as to uphold the dignity and the reputation of his profession, and to safeguard the public interest in matters of safety and health and otherwise. He shall exercise his professional skill and judgment to the best of his ability and discharge his professional responsibility with integrity. Also, to seek, accept, and offer honest criticism of technical work, to acknowledge and correct errors, to be honest and realistic in stating claims or estimates based on available data, and to credit properly the contributions of others, to avoid injuring others, their property, reputation, or employment by false or malicious actions, rumors, or any other verbal or physical abuses. Every member of any grade, in so far as he shall be engaged or employed in any advisory or consultative capacity, shall observe and be bound by the following code of professional conduct and the professional conduct regulations made thereunder. He shall not, without disclosing the fact in writing to his clients, be a director or member of or a shareholder in or act as agent for any contracting or manufacturing company or firm or business with which he may have occasion to deal on behalf of his client or have any financial interests in such a business. Reflection and conclusion. 3 engineers were dismissed and affected professionally. The company was sued and has a bad reputation regarding its public safety procedures. Global trade and oil prices impact was affected. Huge amount of money spent in solving the situation. Other solutions were even costlier. And that's all for us for our presentation. Thank you all. Thank you for watching and listening. Assalamu alaikum.